My in-laws left me out on the family vacation, but what I did the next morning shocked everyone. When Olivia Hastings married Jacob Monroe, she never imagined that her vows would come with an invisible asterisk. Love, honor, cherish, but only if your in-laws approve. Jacob was everything she wanted, steady, smart, and endlessly patient. But his family? A fortress of passive-aggressive smiles and whispered judgments. Wrapped in monogrammed cardigans, the family had planned a big vacation to the Smoky Mountains. Jacob's parents, Walter and Diane, loved to rent a luxury cabin every fall. It was their annual bonding tradition, complete with board games, matching flannel pajamas, and way too many pictures of pumpkin spice lattes. This year was Olivia's first time being invited, or so she thought. She only found out about the trip when Jacob casually mentioned, "Coo, by the way, Mom said they booked the cabin for the 14th to the 20th. They're really excited." Her fork paused midair. "Wait, they booked it." Jacob looked up from his phone. "Yeah, they finalized everything last week. Wasn't even asked about the dates," Olivia said slowly. "Oh well, I think they just assumed you'd come if you could." Assumed. The same way Diane assumed Olivia would bring a store-bought casserole too. Thanksgiving, instead of daring to cook one from scratch. The same way Walter assumed Olivia had never been taught real values. Just because she didn't grow up in Connecticut, but she swallowed her irritation and packed her bags. The cabin was beautiful, nestled among the evergreens like it belonged to some rustic influencer's Pinterest board. Inside was even cozier wooden beams, a massive stone fireplace, and the lingering scent of cinnamon and entitlement. They arrived late in the evening. Olivia was tired from the 8-hour drive. She expected to unwind with a glass of wine on the deck. Instead, Diane greeted her at the door with a dry smile and a question that felt like a slap in the face. "Could you take the room in the basement? We didn't think you'd be joining, so it's the only one left." Jacob was already lugging their suitcase downstairs before she could reply. The basement was cold. There were no windows, and it smelled faintly of mildew and regret. At dinner, the dining table had exactly 8 chairs. Olivia made 9. "I guess you'll have to pull a chair from the kitchen," Diane said brightly, not moving an inch. So Olivia sat at the corner, slightly apart from the group, like a misbehaving child who hadn't earned her seat at the grown-up table. The food was served buffet style. But when Olivia reached for the last slice of roasted chicken, Diane gently slapped her hand away with a fork. "Oh, that's for Uncle Frank. He loves the skin." Uncle Frank didn't even show up. The next morning, Olivia woke up to find the kitchen bustling. Pancakes were being flipped. Bacon was sizzling, and laughter filled the air. Her stomach grumbled. She stepped into the room in her pajamas, offered a soft good morning, and was met with silence. Diane poured coffee and handed it to her daughter. Becca Walter was explaining a hilarious story about airport security to his cousin. No one looked at Olivia. She made her own coffee, then sat at the breakfast bar. A minute passed, then 5. "Is there a plate for me?" she asked. Diane glanced at the stack of empty platters. "Oh, we didn't think you'd be up this early." "Sorry, honey." She wasn't sorry. She never had been. That morning, Olivia ate a bruised banana and dried toast while her in-laws laughed around a table they never made space for her at. And that's when something in her snapped. Shh, not loudly, quietly. Like a small rope breaking in the dark, unnoticed until everything starts to unravel. She wasn't going to cry. She'd done that already years ago. At every family function where Diane introduced her as Jake's little friend. Or where Walter spent half a conversation asking what exactly she did again. This time, she wasn't going to break. She was going to break them. Olivia got dressed, grabbed her laptop, and took her coffee out to the porch overlooking the woods. She opened her browser and began making reservations. Lots of them. For experiences. For events. For indulgences they'd been hoping to try all trip. She booked every local attraction. The hot air balloon ride Diane mentioned. Reserved under her name. The private wine tasting Walter wouldn't stop bragging about? Booked. The gourmet chef. Dinner. Yep, that too. She even reserved the local massage therapist for 3 days straight. The family had waited too long to plan those activities. Olivia made sure no one else could get in. When Jacob asked what she was doing, she simply replied, "Oh, just handling some last-minute things." And then, for the final touch, she made a private reservation at a boutique hotel 5 miles away, one with a spa, fireplace suite, and breakfast in bed. The next morning, Olivia was gone. Jacob woke up alone in the cold basement room. Her side of the bed was neatly made. A note lay on her pillow. Since I wasn't really part of the family trip, I figured I'd create my own vacation. Enjoy the leftovers. Love. Olivia. Diane found out when she called the wine tour to confirm the group's 3 p.m. appointment. To be told the entire slot was booked out by an Olivia Munro. Walter tried to reschedule the hot air balloon ride, same problem. Becca stormed around the cabin, muttering something about that passive-aggressive witch. They had no choice but to stay inside. Rain started falling by noon, canceling their hiking plans. Meanwhile, Olivia posted a picture to Instagram from her hotel's rooftop jacuzzi. The caption, "Nothing better than solo vacations, especially when there's no drama served with breakfast." It racked up likes. Fast. By the evening, Olivia was getting text after text from Jacob. "Where are you? Are you okay? They didn't mean to leave you out, you know?" She didn't reply. Around 8 p.m. Someone knocked at her hotel door. It was Jacob's, hair wet from the rain, face tired. He looked like a man who had finally been slapped across the face with a truth he'd ignored for too long. "I didn't see it," he said quietly. "No," Olivia said, crossing her arms. "You didn't want to." He sat down on the edge of the bed. "I always thought if I just kept the peace, things would get better. I didn't realize how much you were hurting." She looked at him for a long time. "Your mother doesn't like me. Your father barely speaks to me. Your sister treats me like a nuisance. And you, them." Jacob didn't try to defend himself. For once, he just listened. "Then help me fix it," he said finally. "I already did," Olivia replied. "I chose myself." The next day, Diane texted her. "We didn't mean to make you feel excluded. You could have said something." Olivia stared at the message for a full minute before responding. "I've said something over and over. You've just never listened. But now that you're embarrassed, suddenly my feelings matter." Diane replied with a single thumbs-up emoji. That night, Olivia checked out of the hotel, but didn't return to the cabin. She and Jacob drove back home in silence. Things weren't fixed. Not really. But for the first time, Olivia felt like she had some power in the story. Like she didn't have to be the background character in someone else's vacation movie. She wasn't the outsider. Anymore, she was the disruptor, the one who drew a line, the one who made them feel what she'd been feeling all along. The tires crunched over gravel as Jacob pulled the car into their driveway. Autumn leaves carpeted the sidewalk. It should have felt like homecoming, but the air between them was thick, silent, heavy. Like a thunderstorm waiting for permission to roar. Olivia stepped out first, her bag in one hand and her dignity in the other. Jacob lingered behind. He hadn't said a word since they left the cabin. He kept stealing glances at her like he was waiting for the version of her he knew to come back. But that version was gone. Inside the house, Olivia didn't unpack. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She went straight to the kitchen, made herself a cup of peppermint tea, and sat at the counter like she owned the silence. Jacob finally spoke. "So, what now?" Olivia looked up. "You tell me. I mean, do we just go back to normal?" She raised an eyebrow. "What part of this feels normal to you?" He sighed and leaned against the fridge. "I don't know how to fix this. I want to fix it. I do, but they're my family." "And I'm your wife," Olivia said softly but sharply. "Not your side quest. Not your optional attachment. If you don't start acting like I'm your priority, then what are we even doing here?" Jacob had no reply. It didn't take long before the Monroe gossip train went full steam ahead. By Wednesday, Olivia received a DM from Becca. "So you really went behind everyone's back just to make a point?" "Real mature, Olivia. Mom's been crying." 2 hours later, Walter posted a cryptic Facebook status about the death of respect in modern marriages. Olivia didn't reply. Let them fume. But Diane. Oh, Diane pulled out the big guns, she called. "Hi, Olivia," she said, voice trembling with fake sweetness. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry if you felt left out." Felt like it was all in her head. Olivia didn't fall for the bait. "Thank you for calling, Diane." A pause. "I just hope this incident doesn't ruin our family traditions. We're planning the Christmas trip, and I know you'll want to be there this time." "Will I?" Olivia replied coolly. "I mean, Jacob will be, so you'll probably come with him, right?" There it was. It's the subtle reminder. You're only invited because you're married to him. It's not because we want you. Maybe, Olivia said. Or maybe Jacob can spend the holidays with the people who actually respect him. Click. Diane didn't call again. A few nights later, Jacob came home with an envelope. He dropped it on the table. "What's that?" Olivia asked, not looking up from her laptop. "It's a letter to my parents," he said. Now she looked. "You wrote them a letter?" He nodded. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about what I've allowed. You're right. I've let them treat you like an outsider, and I didn't protect you." He slid the envelope closer. "I needed them to hear it from me, not just in words, but something they can hold. Something that won't disappear once the conversation's over." Olivia opened it. Inside was a 3-page handwritten letter. Jacob had poured it all out: his guilt, his shame, his acknowledgement of years of microaggressions and subtle rejections. He ended it with, "If I have to choose between my comfort and my commitment, I choose her. Always." For the first time in weeks, Olivia felt the tension in her chest loosen just a little. 2 weeks later, Diane invited them for dinner. Not a vacation, not a Monroe tradition, just dinner. Olivia almost said no. But Jacob asked her to come. "I want them to see what real reconciliation looks like," he said. "But only if you're ready." So they went. When they arrived, Diane answered the door in pearls and practiced humility. The table was set for 6. There was a chair right next to Diane. Olivia resisted the urge to laugh. Dinner began awkwardly. Becca avoided eye contact. Walter cleared his throat every 5 minutes like it was a power move. But Diane, to her credit, tried. "I made that mushroom risotto you liked," she said to Olivia, setting a plate gently in front of her. "You remembered," Olivia said. "I pay more attention than you think," Diane replied. The meal continued. Olivia didn't warm up, but she also didn't freeze them out. She spoke when it mattered. She held Jacob's hand under the table, and then, after dessert, Diane cleared her throat. "I read Jacob's letter," she said, "every word." She looked at Olivia. "I didn't realize how much I was pushing you out. I thought I was protecting him, but I see now that I was gatekeeping him from you." There was a moment of stillness. Even Walter didn't cough. Diane continued. "I know I can't undo the past, but I'd like to start with something simple. If you're willing, will you help me plan the Christmas trip this year?" Everyone turned to Olivia. She took a long sip of wine. "I'll think about it," she said, and that was enough. As the weeks passed, something unexpected happened. Olivia didn't just become tolerated, she became respected. Not because she played nice or bit her tongue, but because she stopped asking for permission to belong. She took up space, she spoke her mind, she taught Diane how to make real cranberry sauce from scratch. She helped Walter pick out a better retirement plan after overhearing him complain about his advisor. She even offered to help Becca with a job application, and Becca accepted without a passive-aggressive remark for once. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it was power by the time the Christmas trip rolled around. Olivia had 3 conditions. She picked the dates: no matching pajamas. She and Jacob would stay in a hotel nearby, not under the same roof. Diane didn't argue. She just nodded. I guess we all have some growing up to do, she said, at the trip. Olivia arrived in a red coat, black gloves, and a smile that didn't ask for approval. Everyone noticed. Everyone respected it. And for the first time in her marriage, Olivia felt like a partner, not a plus one. The Monroe family Christmas trip was going smoother than anyone expected, probably because everyone was too afraid to rock the boat. Olivia was now captaining. The resort was cozy and classy. Snow blanketed the pine-covered hills. But Olivia was no longer the girl marveling at the view. She was the view now. Still, old patterns die hard. Are you going to the wine tasting live? Diane asked as they gathered in the lounge. I wasn't planning to, Olivia replied, flipping through. A novel. Diane smiled too wide. Well, the girls are going. It might be nice if you joined. The girls. Becca, Lauren, Jacob's cousins, the same ones who spent last summer giggling about Olivia's Midwestern clothes and the time she brought boxed brownies to Thanksgiving. Olivia looked up from her book. Why? So they can whisper behind their wine glasses again? Diane blinked. No, of course not. Olivia stood. Then maybe they can come to my tasting. I'm hosting a bourbon and strategy mixer in the lobby at 7 grown women. Real talk. No matching scarves required. She walked out. Jacob followed stunned, grinning. Bourbon and strategy. She winked. I've been building something. For the last 8 months, Olivia had been quietly building an online brand, something she'd started in the quiet hours of her marital solitude. A podcast? A Substack newsletter. A quiet revolution she called The Outsider's Guide to Belonging. It started with a single post about being left out of family vacations. Now she had 20,000 subscribers, a growing community of women, and 2 sponsors, the Bourbon and Strategy Mixer. That was a test event. Women from nearby towns are SVP'd through Instagram. Diane had assumed it was a Monroe family bonding thing, but Olivia was hosting her people on her terms. That night, hotel lobby filled with women, doctors, small biz owners, educators talking about boundaries, respect, and ambition. Olivia stood at the center of it all. Cool as a snowstorm, Becca watched from a distance, expression unreadable. Lauren sipped quietly, trying to listen without being caught. Even Diane peeked in, then quietly backed away. The Monroe family had secrets, and Olivia, whether they liked it or not, starting to unearth them. A week after the Christmas trip, Olivia received a call from Hannah Monroe, Jacob's cousin who lived in Oregon, rarely involved in the family drama. I saw your podcast, Hannah said, and I just needed to talk to someone who sees them clearly. What's going on? Olivia asked. Hannah hesitated, then dropped it like a grenade. Did anyone tell you about the old house? The one Grandpa Monroe left in the will. Olivia paused. What house? That's what I thought, Hannah muttered. It was supposed to be split between the grandkids. But Uncle Walt transferred it before the reading of the will. Sold it, pocketed everything. Olivia blinked. Wait, that's illegal. That's fraud. Exactly. But everyone keeps it quiet. They say it's family business. I think they were hoping you wouldn't know or care. Oh, but she cared. That night, Olivia confronted Jacob. His face paled. I didn't know they sold it. So you could tell he was telling the truth. But the silence of his family, that was deafening. The next day, Olivia wrote a concise but bold email to the entire Monroe family. Dear family, I've recently been made aware of an undisclosed property transaction involving Grandpa Monroe's estate. As a legal spouse to one of the heirs and an active member of this family, I believe we deserve transparency. I'm happy to consult with an estate attorney to ensure everything was above board. Looking forward to your response. Olivia Monroe. No fluff. No fake kindness. She hit send. 15 minutes later, silence. 1 hour later, Diane called. She didn't leave a voicemail. By nightfall, the family WhatsApp group exploded. Walter, you had no right airing this in public. Becca, can't believe you'd tear the family apart over something you weren't even here. For Olivia, I'm not tearing anything apart. I'm just turning on the lights. And then Lauren DM'd her privately, "Thank you for saying something." I always wondered what happened to that house. Olivia sat back. The tide was turning. That weekend, Jacob sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands. "They want me to talk to you," he said. "Convince you to drop it." Olivia looked up from her laptop. "You going to?" He met her eyes. "No, I'm going to help you dig." Because even Jacob, loyal as he was, realized something essential. Olivia wasn't destroying his family. She was exposing its rot. Together, they found the property documents. Dates didn't line up. Deeds had been transferred the day before Grandpa. Monroe's heart attack, cousin's name forged as a witness. It was messy, and Olivia knew if she went public, there would be backlash. But staying silent meant staying small, and she was done being small. Diane called for a family conversation. Not a Zoom, not a call, a meeting in person. "In their old farmhouse in Maple Hollow, 4 hours away. Please come," she told Olivia. "For Jacob's sake. For mine." Olivia agreed. But she didn't go quietly. She wore a tailored suit. She brought a lawyer friend just in case. She brought notes. And when Diane tried to open the meeting with a prayer and a plate of muffins, Olivia interrupted politely. "With respect, Diane, let's talk truth before carbs." Gasps. A dropped fork. Someone whispered, "Is she serious?" "Yes, darling." She was Dot, and for 2 hours Olivia laid out a timeline of the house transfer, the forged signatures, and the missing money. By the end, Becca was crying, Dot Walter was sweating, and Diane was silent. The fallout came fast. The Monroe family had to settle formally. Money was redistributed. Apologies were given grudgingly, but sincerely enough. And Jacob. He looked at Olivia one morning, coffee in hand, and said, "You know, you could run a boardroom." "I do," Olivia said. "It's every day, right here." Her podcast exploded. Women messaged her in droves. "You gave me a voice. I've been the..." "Olivia, in my family, you're not just surviving. You're rewriting the rules." She got a book deal, an invitation to speak at a women's summit, and for the first time in her life, Olivia wasn't trying to fit in. She was choosing where she belonged, building the space around her. It had been 6 months since Olivia's name left the whispers of the Monroe family group chat and entered headlines of blogs with titles like, "How One Daughter-in-Law Changed the Game." 6 months since that farmhouse showdown. 6 months since the old Olivia, the one who quietly smiled and served extra mashed potatoes to avoid conflict, vanished like fog under sunlight, now standing in front of her bathroom mirror in a city apartment she chose. Olivia barely recognized the woman. Looking back, and that, she realized, was the point. Her podcast had become a movement. Her face was now on the promotional banners of Bold Boundaries. The Women's Leadership Summit happening in Atlanta next week. She wasn't just a guest speaker, she was the keynote. Olivia Monroe, the in-law who refused to sit quietly, she chuckled softly. Running a brush through her hair, Jacob entered behind her, buttoning his shirt. "You nervous?" "Nope, just ready." He kissed her cheek. "My mom actually called me yesterday." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "A peace treaty," she said. Jacob paused. ... That she finally understands why Grandpa Monroe would have liked you. Olivia froze. Not loved, liked. That felt oddly more powerful. Like respect had finally cracked through decades of tradition and control. The final family. Dinner. The Monroes invited her and Jacob for dinner. No holidays. No hidden motives. Just dinner, and surprisingly, Olivia said yes. She wore a scarlet wrap dress, no cardigan in sight. Her heels clicked with intention. Diane opened the door, lips thin, but eyes earnest. "Thank you for coming." Inside, the dining table was quiet. No passive-aggressive remarks. No whispered critiques. Just food and tension. The manageable kind midway through the meal. Becca cleared her throat. I watched your TED Talk, she said. The one about emotional exile in families. Livia's fork hovered. And I think I was part of that. No one breathed. Becca continued. I used to think you didn't belong, but maybe I was just afraid you'd show us everything we weren't. A beat dot, then Diane spoke. I was raised to keep things inside the family, and that's what I tried to do, contain it. But you're right. Secrets rot things. You opened a window. Not an apology, but a confession. Olivia nodded. Double quotes. Thank you, she said, for saying that. And just like that, the story that started with exclusion was quietly finally being rewritten around a dinner table where Olivia wasn't just included, she was heard. 1 year later, Legacy Mode activated Olivia stood on stage at the Atlanta Women's Summit. Spotlights glared. Phones were recording. I used to think that being excluded by my in-laws meant I wasn't enough, she told the audience. Turns out, it meant I was too much for a system that benefited from my silence. Snaps applause, but I didn't burn that system down out of revenge. I did it so other women wouldn't have to sit in corners at family vacations wondering why they weren't invited. Pause. I don't just want a seat at the table anymore. I want us all building new tables, bigger ones. Ones where no one has to earn their place by shrinking. Thunderous claps. Standing ovation. Her book hit bestseller lists. Her face showed. Up on panels, podcasts, and op-eds. But Olivia's favorite part. The emails. Hundreds of them. From women who'd left abusive families, confronted secret wills, spoken out in boardrooms, and finally said no more. And the one message that made her laugh for 5 full minutes. From Lauren Monroe. Okay, you were right. They do talk about women behind wine glasses. Thanks for turning the table. Olivia smiled. She poured herself a glass of bourbon, stepped by her window, watched the sun set behind the skyline of her new world. She didn't just survive the Monroe family, she outgrew them. They left me out of the vacation. But the next morning, didn't just join the family. I made them regret ever doubting me. And I built something no one could exclude me from again myself. Have you ever felt left out by someone who should have welcomed you with open arms? What would your bold next morning look like? Tell us your story in the comments. We want to hear your voice. Don't forget to subscribe. If this story moved you, shook you, or made you whisper yeses, Queen, under your breath, hit that subscribe button and join us for more powerful stories, because women like Olivia, they're not just characters, they're all of us. The end.